Every now and again, we as human beings need, I think, to have a reset, to have a reboot. So currently, we've got a great opportunity for that. And this came up really strongly for me this weekend, actually. We had ANZAC Day, which is the Australian New Zealand Army Corps Remembrance Day. So, as you know, many countries around the world have their Remembrance Day of those who have fallen before in wars and the theatres of war, which I think is an interesting name within itself. That it is a theatre from many perspectives, and I think also the fact that we with social distancing weren't allowed to accumulate in groups, so it was people standing in their front of their houses and remembering at sunrise the people who had gone before us, giving their life for something that they believed in, and creating a memory from that action, and it includes relatives of mine, and I think probably most people have some track back to people who have gone before them, who gave of their lives. The interesting thing, I think, in that one, and there was something like 105,000 people who had died from Australia and New Zealand in those skirmishes through the First World War, and the current situation with the other war that we're fighting currently is this COVID-19 war. And whether it's coincidental or not, but 1919, 1920 was when the Spanish flu was raging around the world, and that took out more people than the First World War by far, something like 50 million. So this tiny agent that's considered to be our enemy then is bringing us to our knees in many ways. Now, it's I think in a very small degree probably the disease itself, or the agent itself, which is a virus, amongst millions of other viruses that we live in as part of our virome. We have a system that is intricately working with viruses and bacteria at all times. In fact, bacteria outnumber the cells in our body. So we have bought into this fear of something being outside of us. So I wanted us to address that to some degree here today. When we do go to war, and we declare war, and we have terminology that is war terminology, then we enter into a physiological state that's consistent with that. So we go into fear, and we go into protection. We go into protection to protect ourselves from any foreign agent or substance that may be out to get us. Now, the human being, or the cells of in fact of any living thing, can't be in growth and protection at the same time. So when we go into protection, we decrease our growth. We decrease the ability to expand and to regenerate and to proliferate, reproduce. And at the same time, we also diminish our immune response. So our immune system closes down when we're in a state of protection to preserve energy. So making sure that we are kept safe, the immune system shuts off and puts all the attention on just getting by. So, and this is designed primarily for short periods of time. So when we're in a state of fear and a state of protection over an extended period of time, then dire consequences occur. And my suspicion is that that's what occurred after the grueling 4 years of the First World War, when it was over in 1918. That's when this flu broke out. And it's called the Spanish flu only because Spain was neutral and it had the ability to broadcast the news, whereas all the European states and the allied countries had blocked their news so that, as part of their war effort, and therefore the only reporter was the Spaniards Spanish, so that became known as the Spanish flu. But anyway, the point being is that fear leads to protection, and that diminishes growth, and that diminishes the immune system. And I think this is a really important thing for us to consider right now, going forward in the coronavirus era, which, I mean, it's a bad flu. And I've said that's right from the beginning. It's a flu. It's just a flu. And there's certain interests that have chosen to make this a target to demonize it, and it's very, very successful. It's a great marketing campaign, and it's bringing about some change. So if we look at that, then rather than going to war on it, if we were able to take that confusion that's around and create clarity of that, if we're able to get clear about who we are and what we are and what this is and the so-called new normal. Now, I don't think the new normal will hold much weight going forward in terms of social isolation, for example. There's a drive within human beings to have an innate connection with those around them, with other people, and we're drawn to other people. And so to be forced to be apart from other people and to be scared and afraid of other people is it's very destructive. And but I think the power of innate and the drive of that will be over and above the command to keep away from people. So I think that we'll see that one sort of settles down. But there's some very good lessons, I believe, in this whole episode of coronavirus, or the Nova one. I think the thing is that it's causing us to reboot. It's causing us to take on a reassessment, and it's where we lock ourselves down and we start to say, okay, what's important? What is it that I'm here for? What are my priorities? What is it that drive me in terms of the values that I have? And so I think that this is a great opportunity right now to sit back and maybe go for a walk, or just get out into a space where you are at one with yourself and the world, and ask yourself, what is it that that this opportunity gives me to do my life differently. And I think in the coming months and years, and maybe hopefully not, but decades, there's going to be an aftermath of this of quite significant proportions. And this is going to roll out in ways that we may not have experienced before, at least in our lifetime. And the decisions that we make today and the frame that we put around this is going to be critical in the way we handle it. You see, events are events, but the perception of the event is a critical factor. And so the meaning we're making of it is what's going to determine our physiology, our immune system. It's going to affect our wealth. So it's important to be aware that we are creating our reality, and that we can initially go into confusion, because when things start changing really fast and all the familiar starts to shift, then it is confusing. And the first job here of a human being is to reestablish some clarity, not certainty, by no means certainty. That's the last thing you want, but to have some clarity around where we are, where we're going, what we're about, what the dynamics are that are surrounding us right now, and get ready to map a way forward. Now, in terms of this, then, we have different dynamics. We have starting from ourselves, moving right out from there. So the first dynamic has got to be ourself. It's got to be, how are you within yourself? How are you tracking? How are you perceiving the world? What beliefs are coming up for you? What fears? What apprehensions? What blocks? What are your aspirations? What is your frame that you're putting around it? How are you perceiving the situation? And what is it that you are here to do? It's like, what is your mission? And so this is a great time, as I said, just to get out there in nature, or get out there wherever you need to be, and get clear on that. Get clear on you and who you are. What's your calling? What's the mission that you're called to? And at the end of the day, the life well lived is the life that's gone through and done the things that have been important. And and it's often on our deathbed, it's things that we didn't get to do that become the greatest issues, the greatest challenges, the regrets. The fact that we didn't do what we knew we had to do. And so being available at that level for yourself, I think is a great opportunity right now to do that in terms of rebooting, and also for you to get clear on the next level, which would be family. So look at what it is that you want for your family, your close family, your blood family, your relationships at a close level, and then filtering right out through your workmates and your team and the various crews that you work with, and then going out beyond that into the different levels of association that you're engaged in, to your clubs and organisations, your profession and society and the world. And those are significant dynamics in your life that you have influence over at a progressively decreasing level, one might assume. But nevertheless, it's like something you can say and do can literally have an effect on millions of people. So make sure that you're coming from a space of clarity around that, and rather than being at war, you're doing it with a loving heart. Now, that doesn't mean to say be all lollygagging and loose and lovey-dovey. It's about being clear on what your position is, and that might mean being hard ass. It it may be letting go of people in your life. It may be disassociating with some people. It may be firing some people. It may be getting rid of excess, because this is a time when that will be happening. We're going into, I would suggest, a phase of austerity. So we then start to look at what's giving me the most bang for my buck. How do I get my mission out there more, and who's going to help me? It's not about penny pinching either. It's not about cutting back necessarily. It's just cutting back on the things that you don't, that are superfluous, that you don't need, and increasing your energy and your expenditure on the things that move the needle more. So within your business, within your life, look at the things that are essential or are necessary to get you to the next step, to get your vision out there, to allow the world to be as you would love it to be, and at the same time allowing it to be what it is. And I know there's a paradox there, and it's a perpetual series of paradoxes actually at this level. But the important thing is that you do, as those diggers and the people who went to war throughout and gave their lives for a cause. What is your cause? What is the thing that's most important for you to get done, or what's the right, the wrong that needs to be righted? What are the things that you can see that are out there, they've got your name all over it. So the technique, or the tactic that one might consider is, and this is something we've been using in our practice, is paying it forward. And by setting up a sequence of this, by allocating randomly someone's name that who get told that their care for that visit is being taken care of by someone else, has had a huge ripple effect. And so people engaging in that because people know that other people have looked after them and they don't even know them. And it's been massive. It shifts the energy so well. So there's something that you might like to consider, because really the question on all of this is like, who will you be? Who are you? And are you living true to what's important to you? And when you do that, then the right people will be around you, and you'll be fulfilling your mission, your vision, your talent, and your destiny. So that's the thought, I think, for at this point in time. Look at it for this week. Just how does this COVID-19 serve you? How does the war that we're engaged in serve you and serve humanity? And where can you then bring love into this so that you can transfer the confusion into clarity, and starting with yourself, build it out from there. So thanks for joining us, and I'll catch up with you on the next podcast.